So a few words from me about the issue of digital ID, which is a very hot topic in the UK at the moment. Starmer's pushing very hard for it. So what I'm going to talk about is this issue of framing. Framing is when you present to people a particular issue and you only give them, like, say, two options that they can choose from. And it's a deception, because in actual fact there will be other options available, but you're only presented two extremes and you're going to be asked to pick one or the other of these two extremes that the big club has presented to you. So I've noticed this from, well, it's from my wife actually showing me things in the Daily Mail. And basically, as we know, they've used problem reaction solution. So they've created this immigration crisis. They've opened the doors. They've been bringing people in on aeroplanes, never mind rubber boats, with the sole purpose of disintegrating living standards, creating a lack of social cohesion in British cities, so that British people, quite rightly, they get upset about it and they will demand the solution to the problem. And as we know, the solution to the problem is digital ID. That's what people will say. That's what Farage will say, you know, with his, to do compulsory deportation we need digital ID. So we know all of this. So this is where the framing comes in. Your two options, you got to pick one, no other alternatives. You can either choose to reject digital ID, and if you do that, you're also choosing to have even more immigration, even longer NHS waiting times, even higher rents, etc. More of the same, basically. Or if you reject digital ID, that's what you're choosing. You're choosing more immigration. That's your first choice. And your second choice is, well, you accept digital ID and then we can get rid of all of those problems. We can bring migration under control. And so far you might be thinking, well, you know, this is obvious, isn't it? This is bleeding obvious. Watson, what are you going on about? Well, what I'm saying is there are other options apart from uncontrolled migration, or you accept a digital ID. And what I'm talking about here, one option that I would prefer, is greatly scale back the level of taxation and also greatly scale back the welfare state. Because the welfare state, it doesn't just create a pull factor for third world migrants, and obviously that causes problems. It also causes problems for people who have been born here, because it sends out a poor set of incentives. Like if you've got a generous welfare state and you know, the more kids you have, the bigger the housing flats you have, and yeah, everything's too much free stuff, well then there's no incentive to work. And this even affects kids at school. I remember when I first did my teaching practice actually in 1988. I remember talking to some guy, some student, and he wasn't doing very well, and I thought, let's have a chat with him, find out what's going on. And he sort of explained to me that, you don't understand, I'm going to be happy with the council flat and some benefits for my booze and fags, and that'll be me sorted. And you know, yeah, I might disagree with that, but you know, from a rational perspective, if that is an offer to people, if people can get to spend other people's money, many people will choose that option, and that's what you've got in Britain. So what I'm saying here is that the solution isn't to accept digital ID. And you know, if we reject digital ID, that doesn't inevitably mean more migration, because the third option that you're not allowed to know about is get rid of the welfare state, greatly reduce taxation, and then of course you remove the incentive for people to come here. For kind of old school socialists who watch my channel, To them, I would say, well, you need to think about the morality of taxation. It's deeply immoral, you know, where some people get to vote to steal somebody else's money and then enjoy the proceeds. And then on another level too, if you think about modern politics, what do politicians do with our taxes anyway? They spend it on dodgy drugs that reduce life expectancy. And kind of like questionable medical treatments, let's say. They also spend it on wars, killing people abroad. They also spend it on kind of woke propaganda that masquerades as education. So there are many things that scrapping the welfare state and reducing taxation would solve, apart from migration. You know, it will greatly improve the standard of education if education was provided by private entrepreneurs. Same with healthcare. We could have a battle for ideas. Private health, no government regulation. People do their own homework about healthy eating. People can go and choose which healthcare they want from whoever. You'd have a massive battle for ideas and innovation like we've never seen. So there's lots to be said for it. So this is the first point that I'm getting, is that you're being set up with this digital ID. You're given this binary choice. Either you have it and we solve migration, or if you choose not to have it, then we're going to it's going to be status quo. We're going to have even more migrants coming to Britain. And what I'm telling you is that it's a fake choice. There are other options. It's not just a binary choice situation. There are other alternatives. Why does all of this matter? You know, because there'll be some people in the comments will say, well, they don't even need us to call for what they want. And to that, I would say, you don't understand how they work. You might not believe in natural law, they do. So it's absolutely essential, as far as they're concerned, that we call for what they want to impose, that we call for our own demise. That we call for exactly what they want to impose on us. And this is down to them feeling that they have to do this to avoid any adverse karmic consequences. A good example was the 2020 lockdowns. They didn't just impose them. Basically what they did was that they created a huge propaganda war designed to create fear. So if you remember back to around March, initially the idea was Boris's herd immunity, and many people, the media obviously were cheerleading all of this, were saying that this was irresponsible and this was a terrible thing. You know, and we needed lockdowns. And then what happened basically was, I'm not saying everybody called for lockdowns, but there was an awful lot of people in Britain who did call for lockdowns because of the old problem reaction solution thing again. They created the problem, which was this kind of fear, the bogeyman fear, and people reacted to it, and they then wheeled out the solution, which was the lockdown. But we actually called for it. So therefore they went ahead because we called for it. They believed that they were going to escape any adverse karmic consequences associated with imposing tyranny on us. You know, the old biomedical fascism, wrecking people's educations, etc. You know, obviously the furlough kind of like bribery as well. There was a lot of people who were very happy about it, who called for it, and that's essential if you're, you know, part of that satanic big club, because they believe in natural law. You might, they do. So yeah, and the same thing is going on here. One more time, they're saying to you, look, you know, you can pick one. You can either pick the status quo, no digital ID, but then the opportunity cost of that is you're just going to have to suck it up migration is just going to keep on coming. It's just going to be more housing shortages, longer NHS waiting times, harder and harder to get your kid into school. Or we can solve the problem for you, but you have to go for the digital ID. And as I say, that's what they'll be looking for. They will be looking for a critical mass of people to say, we'll have the digital ID. So we have to be very, very careful about this. And it could be done quite in a sly way too. You know, it might be by the next general election. You know, maybe Reform have a manifesto, and as part of that manifesto, it's like the Brit card. So, you know, as far as that, they are absolutely desperate to get our consent. And it may well be that people vote for that. You know, they vote for the whole package, whatever Reform want. But then because the digital ID is in that package, that counts as consent. So, yeah, that's all I want to say today. So God bless.